Today we're doing something a bit different. We're actually going to travel to London for a whole day and then document the whole trip while testing the battery lives on the S23 Ultra and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I took them both off the charger at exactly 9 AM, and while we were filming this intro, the S23 had already dropped to 98%, while the iPhone was still at 100. I should also mention that I've left auto brightness on both to keep it as realistic as possible. I've also set the S23 Ultra to its native resolution to keep it as close as possible to the iPhones, and they were both on the same E network with 100% battery health. We then got an Uber that would take us to the train station, and keep in mind that whatever I was doing on one phone, I was also doing on the other at the exact same time, so this wasn't easy. By 9:48 AM, we were in the Uber, and I started reading some emails and made sure that we had everything that we needed for the London event that we were going to later in that day. And the S23 Ultra had already dropped to 95%, while the iPhone was surprisingly still at 100. The Uber trip took roughly 15 minutes, and by 10 AM, we were already at the train station ready to collect our tickets. All I had to do was type in the redeem code, and the machine generated these 5 beautiful train tickets for us to use. Okay, so we're just at the Manchester Piccadilly train station, and even though I tried doing the same things on both phones, the iPhone is still at 100%, while the Samsung is now at 94%, so quite a big difference between the two, but let's see how all of this continues during the day. Then, at 10 AM, we boarded our Avanti West Coast train en route to London, a trip that would take around 2 hours and 15 minutes. With quite some time to spare, we had to put both phones to good use. But before that, we checked the battery levels, which were now 97% on the iPhone and 92% on the S23 Ultra. I've definitely noticed that the iPhone usually takes forever to drop from 100%, but once it does, it discharges at a faster rate. The time was now 40 minutes past 10. So what we did next was watch some Netflix on both, and of course, that we decided to go with a classic, Terminator 3. And I've actually noticed some really interesting things here. Even though they were both set to their maxed out brightness, the S23 was noticeably brighter than the iPhone. The aspect ratio was also wider on the S23, which also did a much better job streaming the movie. The iPhone did stop a few times to buffer, which the S23 never had to. And remember that they were both on the exact same cellular network with 5G turned on. Around 30 minutes into playing the movie at 10:11, the iPhone had dropped to 90%, while the Samsung had dropped to 86%. And 30 more minutes at 11:40, 1 hour into the Netflix movie, the iPhone had dropped to 84%, while the S23 had dropped to 82%. So the gap was getting smaller and smaller. We've also noticed that the S23 was on 4G more often than the iPhone, which occasionally switched to 3G, which makes me think that Samsung is using more powerful antennas than Apple here. The time was then 11:45, which meant that we had 45 more minutes to spare until our train would arrive in London. So we decided to put the gaming performance to the test here with Minecraft. But when I tried launching Minecraft on the iPhone, I realized that the iPhone had automatically removed it to save on storage space, which meant that we had to download it, which used 4% battery on the iPhone. So at 12 sharp, they were both at 80%, but do keep that extra 4% drop in mind on the iPhone throughout the rest of this video. We then played Minecraft finally until 12:20, and yeah, I sadly got killed by a bunch of rabid wolves, but it was a lot of fun. And at the end of the session, the iPhone had 74%, while the Samsung had 73%. Also, pretty weird how the iPhone cut out so much of the Minecraft UI. Okay, so I've just arrived in London Euston. It's 12:44 right now, and the Samsung is at 72%, while the iPhone is at 73%. So we're just gonna grab something to eat from, probably Pizza Express, and yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute. And I gotta say, looking at Google Maps in the bright sunlight was so much better on the iPhone. Just look at this brightness difference. 15 minutes later, at 1 PM, we had arrived at Pizza Express. And at this point, both phones were at 70% battery. Okay, so we're just at the Pizza Express now, and this is what we got. Okay, so that's mine. That's my pizza margherita, and then Owen got, what's that?
Jackfruit.
Jack, American Jack. So we're not doing quite good in terms of time. We have about 1 hour to go to the event that we're going to. And it's gonna take us about 45 minutes to get there. So we have about 15 minutes to finish this, so yeah, wish us luck. And honestly, we didn't really have to rush it as fast as we could. We were meant to be at the event at 2 PM sharp for the entry, with the actual event starting at 2:30. And at 1:30, we were just heading towards the underground, the trip that would take about 40 minutes. So yeah, maybe getting a pizza wasn't the best idea overall, but we did manage to get to the underground at around 40 minutes past 1. During this underground ride, I used the phones for a bit in Google Maps to make sure that we were heading the right way, and at that point, the iPhone was at 67%, while the Samsung was at 66%. The underground was actually faster than we were expecting, as at 2 p.m. sharp, we had finally arrived at Greenwich Station, where we saw some pretty cool YouTube Shorts ads. Let us know what you guys think of our latest shorts, by the way. And then we started walking towards the event space, which is about 10 minutes away. A fun fact, the event that we were going to was for Oppo's new N2 Flip phone, and the space was at Magazine London, the same space where OnePlus used to hold their events too. When we got there, we were given this pretty cool purple wristband. We entered the event space, we took a seat, and yeah, we enjoyed the event. Speaking of the event, it was really cool. Oppo unveiled this little guy, the N2 Flip, which does seem way superior to Samsung Z Flip in every single way. It's got a bigger cover screen, flagship level cameras, no crease, a much larger battery, and so many cool and unique features. Do let us know if you want to see a video comparing the two. I did take a bunch of photos with both during the event, but the best part was after the event. They had this nice briefing area where they had a bunch of N2 Flips exposed, and surprise, surprise, I bumped into quite a few familiar faces. I bumped into Michael Fisher, aka Mr. Mobile, Jaime Rivera, Joshua Vergara, Alex, aka Red Skull, Tommy, aka Gadgets Boy, as well as Ben Gaskin, and quite a few more. Like, I was quite surprised as I wasn't expecting any international tech YouTubers to be present at this event. But yeah, that was really cool, and I gotta say, it's really weird seeing someone that you've been watching for quite a few years in person. But yeah, it was really awesome. At 4 p.m, the event and the briefing were over, and we were just about to head back to the train station, but before that, we quickly checked the battery levels, and the iPhone was at 59%, while the Samsung was at 57%. Yeah, extremely close. Our train was from 5:30, so we were a bit more relaxed this time, as we had about 1 hour and 30 minutes until our train. Okay, so we're now back at London Euston Station. Our train leaves in about 45 minutes, so we do have quite some time to spare. And in terms of the battery percentages, the iPhone is at 55% and the Samsung is at 54%, so very close. The time was 4:46, and we still had 45 minutes until our train would arrive. So we decided to spend quite a bit of time around the area and take a couple of photos. And I still cannot get over how good the S23 Ultra zoom is. Like, just take a look at this. Oh, and the iPhone still cannot focus quite as close as Samsung can with the main module. Okay, so we just took a few photos outdoors while we're waiting for our train, and yeah, they're both at 53%. Very strange. We then decided to go back to the train station as we only had about 20 minutes left. And at about 5:20, we were already on the train, with the iPhone being at 52% and the Samsung being at 51%. The day was almost over, but the phones were not. So we then opened up YouTube and played Lex Friedman's podcast, a podcast that I very often listen to actually. Shout out to Lex. And just take a look at these brightness differences. Even with the iPhone being maxed out, it was still noticeably dimmer than the Samsung. After just about 40 minutes, at 10 minutes past 6, the iPhone was at 45, while the Samsung was at 44. Then I wanted to do some scripting for this video, so I just left both phones on standby for about an hour while Owen was transferring the footage from our camera to his MacBook. The time was now 7 p.m. and I wanted to post some socials from the event. The problem was that all the footage was on Owen's MacBook and only the iPhone had AirDrop, so we had to get the footage onto the iPhone first, and then I had to edit it and post it from the iPhone as well, which took about 30 minutes and drained the iPhone's battery to 30%, while the Samsung was still at 38%. Like, I wanted to do the edits and the posts from both phones at the same time, but unfortunately this task simply just wasn't doable. But we'll keep all of this in mind at the end of the video. At 7:30 p.m. we were back in Manchester and got back to exactly where we started our trip from. Okay, so we just got back to exactly where we started from in the morning, and I gotta say the trip was really nice. It was quite long, but definitely very eventful and very memorable. Now, in terms of the battery percentages, the iPhone is at 26%, whereas the Samsung is at 34%. So that's really impressive for both, but you gotta keep in mind that the iPhone lost 4% when it had to download Minecraft, so technically that would bring it up to 30%. And also, without that 30-minute editing and social media posting session, the iPhone would very likely be at around 36% or even higher. So at the end of the day, yes, the iPhone would technically last you a tiny bit longer, but considering that the S23 Ultra lets you lower the display's resolution, they do balance each other out really well here. And I am extremely impressed with the S23 Ultra here. I wasn't expecting it to get close to the iPhone, and realistically, I can safely say that no matter which one you get, they would both easily last you for an entire day of use. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It was quite different compared to what we normally do. Let us know in the comments if you want us to make more videos like this in the future. I'm Daniel, Zone of Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zone of Tech, signing out. Cheers.